you really cannot skip the process and taking shortcuts, no matter how much money you have, how much fame in a different way you've built, no matter how many resources you've gained, thinking that once you got them, it would be easier to do things correctly. It just doesn't work like that. And I think there's no better example. I'm sharing my screen here with you than this. Kai Cenat. Now, this guy, everyone knows this guy probably, but so he was a streamer, the sort of IRL streamers that he would just do different things, hosting people, playing video games, just doing things essentially on a live stream. And he was probably top three in the world doing this, very famous doing this. And then I think he had a breakup or something, and he decided to like quit streaming and become a fashion designer. So to become a more creative type of person. And the vibe it gives is that as if he's trying to be a sort of Kanye West type of person that, you were great at music and then you went to another creative endeavor, Yeezy, and you did that very well. And the image that you portray is of a very creative mind, a very capable one. Even despite all the craziness, despite all of that, it is still a very creative person that is good at what he does. Now, the problem here and the difference is that when you have built your whole reputation, I'm going to put this playing here. When you've built your whole reputation, just entertaining kids in a way that's very sort of, just screaming and being very energized. I'm not going to say like a modern clown, but a little bit. And then you expect to try and go do something like this that you're acting as if you're a more creative person, an artist. Well, there's going to be a problem here because you think that just because you became famous and rich and whatnot, that then this will translate right away when you try to, create your own clothes or create videos that are more creative. And it simply doesn't work like that because in trying to skip ahead of the process, which is a lot of what you see with him, because let's say if he were to just kind of go into hiding 3 years, learn the craft, do things correctly, and then came back and did all the same things, but actually knowing things better and actually having something to show for it, I don't think people would react the same way because you would have some merit behind what you're trying to do. But then when you have something here where this video is called Me Creative Directing, and it's just him kind of, in a sort of way acting as if you are already that guy, that person that when we all know that you're not, well, then the comments, and I checked already, but I had to laugh at this first one, are going to be things like this. You know what I mean? It's, people are just gonna be ridiculing you. And in this case, in my opinion, rightfully so, because you have not you have not earned that right. And I think this comment right here kind of encapsulates all of it. Just be yourself. This is not you, at least not yet. You can't go from, in this case, being a streamer that you're screaming 24/7 and being all hyper and just doing all of these things to entertain, to now you change and you're this nonchalant artist that you're creative directing and doing my own clothes. You're just not good at that. You cannot be. And this is not an attack on someone wanting to be more creative and do more creative things. Not at all. But as you begin any of these pursuits, whether that's fashion or music or painting, you are a beginner. And you will be a beginner for years to come. It's just the way it is. There's so much to learn. The fundamentals, the little details, the rules that you cannot expect, no matter how many resources you have, to just begin and be good at it right away. It's even someone like, for example, Kanye West, that it seems like, oh, but he went for music and then did Yeezy and it was that. It wasn't like that because he has a background in art and he painted and drew and he went to school for it. So it is completely different. And even, let's say him, of course, he had to learn and he had to have help from a lot of people that are very capable in these things. And even someone like Kanye, I believe, is, it's not to this level of performative. And I think that's why it works. And I say this, and I'm just going to pause this here and I'll put something else in the background. I show this here to anyone watching, not because I assume you that are watching that you already are rich and have all these resources and now you can go ahead and do things in this way. Not at all. But likely what you do have is that you have this idea in your mind that you can do things in a way first and make your money and build some sort of fame and whatnot, doing things not the exact correct way. And then when you get to that point, you can go ahead and do things correctly. And it's something I fell into myself. It's easy to believe that you can then just switch things up and go on from there. But it is not like that. It's like how I spoke in a previous video. It is as if you're climbing a mountain and you just saw a shortcut. And you took the shortcut, and for a little bit, it seems that you are progressing faster, getting more results, and it's better. But what we must realize is that this shortcut always leads to a dead end. It never leads to the top. And what one realizes, let's say a guy like Kai, I hope has realized, is that when you take that shortcut, you're going to realize that you're just going to have to go back to the beginning and do things correctly and learn correctly and give things its time and actually go through it. So, for example, let's say some guy is like a great athlete and you're a great track runner, like one of the best of all time. And now you're going to learn jujitsu. You can expect to become a black belt in 2 years. It's just not going to work like that, no matter how fit you are or how skilled you are in a different thing. I think when it's physical things, it's easier to understand in that regard. Perhaps you'll pick it up faster. Perhaps you have more cardio and all these things, fair enough. But it will still take time because anything that is worth doing like this, that if you do it correctly, there's a great reward, not even financially, but in sort of the quality of the work you put forth. By nature, these things have a lot of detail and a lot of different techniques to them and fundamentals, because you look at these arts, they are arts that have existed for hundreds of years and people have been building upon it, on the previous generation. So you can expect to, you just sit, you begin and you're like, yeah, now I'm going to receive recognition for it right away. You are not good enough right away. Unless you are some generational talent that was never discovered when you were younger. But likely you're not. How many of those exist throughout history? Like you can count them in two pairs of hands. It's just, it doesn't work like that. And to you and to all of us, I would say let's get this idea for our minds that we can skip doing things correctly and that we can skip learning and developing ourselves, and that and then stop believing that with enough optimizations I can condense 10 years of training into 6 months. I cannot. It is quite literally impossible. And not only is it impossible, I don't think it is desirable, because when we are optimizing in this way, and I'm going to take my headphones, I'm not listening to anything. When we are optimizing in this way, we're always assuming or not assuming, but in a way we want to shortcut the effort and time we have to put in to get to some point in the future that we assume that things are better. It's like, oh, if I learn how to play the guitar or whatever it may be, and I can skip this part and just get to this point, then it will be cool. But it doesn't work like that. Because then when you get to that point, if you get to that point, you get used to it. And so the song that, let's say 2 years ago, seemed like you were going to feel so great playing it, now you can play and it's normal. And now there's the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. It is never ending. And so we cannot get into this mistake after the first that we talked about of optimizing as well, expecting that will get us faster to a point that then will be fully fulfilled forever. Because it doesn't exist. And the true realization that works for both problems here is to realize, for how cliche this is, that we just have to enjoy the process where we are. Whatever stage you find yourself in, beginner, intermediate, advanced, ultra advanced, that now you're teaching people, you have to realize that there's no point in the future when it's better. Yeah, sure, perhaps you could make more money and more of these things, but even those you get used to. And when we embark in things that mean something to us, that's what more artistic things do matter more to us. A guy like Kai, I feel like one of the reasons, especially after a traumatic moment, that you don't want to continue doing just streaming is because you become aware of probably how pointless it is. And you want something that's more real, more valuable, more creative. We all do. At the end of the day, we all want to do things that feel more real and meaningful. But then we get into them and we apply the same mindset that we apply when we're just trying to make money or get things. That it is, I want to get there as fast as possible with the least amount of effort as possible, so then I can relax. But here's the opposite, because you don't do them to then be able to stop doing them. You do them to do them for the sake of doing them. And whether they make you a millionaire or they keep you broke forever, regardless of that, the point of them is not that. And if you find yourself on one of these journeys, doing something that matters to you, and that there's a side of it that requires quite some art to it, and some learning and some developing of your skills, I urge you, do not attempt to skip past where you are. Do not try to rush past where you are and be something you're not, because it will not work. Do things correctly. And I say this as much to you as I say to myself, but let's do things correctly, proper. And let's realize that quite literally, there's no better point to be at than the point we stand right now. The advanced person looks back at the times they were beginners, and they look back fondly. They look back, and a lot of them say, man, those were the better times, and I didn't even realize it. Because everything's so new, and you're learning the new things. There's beauty in all the stages. So let's realize that. I'll put the comment again on the screen. Let's just be ourselves at the point we're on, and let's not try to pretend we're nonchalant and this and that we're such a great artist or whatever. When you get there, you get there. And then if it's you when you get there, so be it. But when you're not, don't try to be that. Focus on the stage. Let's focus on the stage we are right now, doing it correctly as best as we can, realizing that quite literally there's no better point to be.